How would you like to be driving a brand new Honda CR-V? Well, just by signing up for RevVoice, you'll be automatically entered to win. The Honda CR-V is one of the highest rated cars in its class, an unbeatable value for safety, comfort, and style. It's got plenty of storage for everything you need to carry, and looks great inside and out. So, upgrade your home phone today, and you just might upgrade your life with a brand new Honda CR-V from Nassau Motor Company, worth more than $42,000. Call us to sign up for RevVoice before January 26th. RevVoice, the better choice.
Good evening, Bahamas. You're tuned into MB12, broadcasting from Cable 12 Studios on Robinson Road. Coming up tonight in news, an exclusive interview with Numbers boss Craig Flowers. South African gaming advisors are in town meeting with the Prime Minister. Former Prime Minister Hubert Ingram says the gambling referendum is a PLP thing. An apparent suicide in the Centerville area, plus a grandiose farewell for a long-standing hotelier. We've got those stories and so much more coming up. I'm Paige McCartney, and MB12 starts right now. Welcome once again to MB12. Veteran web shop operator Craig Flowers has broken his silence as the gambling debate builds steam ahead of Monday's referendum. Flowers spoke exclusively to MB12's Candia Dames, expressing various opinions on issues connected to the controversial vote. Here's her report.
In the months and weeks leading up to the controversial gambling referendum, web shop operators have remained quiet behind the scenes. This was Craig Flowers' first interview since this whole controversial gambling referendum process started. And much of what he said might just surprise you, including his support for the church's views on gambling.
I think that all of us, every single one of our operators, I think we all grew up as Christians, and I think that if we sit, I know I do, and listen to their argument, and their argument has a lot of good values, a tremendous amount of good values. No one can take that away from them. But that's not what's in front of us. What's in front of us is how do we solve the problem that we've allowed ourselves to get into. And I think if we look at solutions, and if the Christian Council is saying that we should start down the road of closing web shops, I think that that's not the right way, in my opinion, to go about changing the desire that people have.
Yet Flowers told us that if there is a no vote and the authorities give the word, he would move immediately to close his 14 web shops in the Bahamas and send home his more than 300 staff members with full benefits. Flowers also said the government should have taken a position on the referendum.
To say that we would welcome a yes vote. We would welcome it, because if you give us that mandate, we will certainly proceed down the road of regulating and taxing the industry. And I thought that that would have been a just position for the government to take, to say that, please give us this opportunity to regulate, because we have half of our citizens running in and out of the stores.
We also asked Flowers whether he thinks Bahamians should be allowed to gamble in casinos in the Bahamas. He said he would support Bahamians being allowed to gamble in casinos, and he also thinks they should own them.
The argument that was made in the past for Bahamians not to play in casinos is embarrassing, that we don't know how to act, that we're going to break up the people's place. What do you see around us today look like? Crazy people. I mean, we certainly know how to act. We certainly know how to conduct ourselves in the presence of others. And I think that when that regulation was put in place, or that law was put in place, it was intended to protect us, not so much to restrict us.
And we also asked Flowers to respond that this referendum is payback for web shop bosses who reportedly funded the PLP's re-election campaign.
One would think that if there was any type of funds given to the now Prime Minister, why would he still go through a referendum. If he cut a deal with any of us, then the only thing for him to do is to go ahead and enact that Mr. Flowers have a license, and that's done, finish. But he made a promise. He made a promise to the Bahamian people that he would have a referendum.
Flowers said his company has never donated to the PLP's campaign, but as a longtime PLP supporter, he said he made contributions, but he said those contributions were never significant amounts. Operators will spend the rest of the week pushing a yes vote and promoting what they say would be benefits of a regulated industry. But whether they will be successful, of course, remains to be seen. Reporting for NB12, I'm Candia Dames.
Well, the Prime Minister today also hosting a contingent of advisors from South Africa who've been meeting with technicians and government officials to discuss casino, web shop, and national lottery regulations. Last week, the Prime Minister indicated that he would seek to get further advice from gaming consultants, and he confirmed today that he has met with 2 representatives so far.
They're here to review what happens in the Bahamas. They've had a look at the recommendations made by the casino industry in the Bahamas. They've had discussions with the Ministry of Finance and Gaming Board with respect to how web shops function in the Bahamas, and I'll be meeting them at lunchtime for a final briefing and discussion, and that will then place me in a position to know where we are.
This is the second group of advisors the government has outsourced to help with the issue of legalized gaming. Last year, the government contracted UK consultants Dixon Wilson & Co. to give recommendation on how to go about implementing legalized gambling for Bahamians. Christie said that consulting firm actually recommended the South African firm that's currently in the capital.
They recommended an American group and this group from the point of view of relevance and cost effectiveness. We have been looking at this particular group who have tremendous experience in drafting legislation, in the procedures involved in gaming, internet gaming as well, who represent clients similar to what kind of regime we would have to introduce here. And so, you know, it's from our point of view, they bring to the table the level of expertise that we would expect to have moving forward.
Christie said the issue of paying the advisors has not come up. He said whatever the cost, it would be absorbed by the gaming industry and not taxpayers. Well, former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham has called the gambling referendum a PLP thing. He asserted that government is clearly in support of the legalization of web shops. Ingraham also spoke out on the former administration's proposed legislation. Vonnie Toot reports.
I'm not concerned about all the hullabaloo, etc., who has a horse in the race, who does it, etc. It's clearly a race that the PLP is supporting.
No matter how often government claims it has no horse in the race, former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham says it is clear the Progressive Liberal Party is pushing a yes vote. Just yesterday, PLP Chairman Bradley Roberts said he believes the majority of his colleagues will vote in favor of web shops and a national lottery. His comments came one day after he announced that the party wants Bahamians to vote yes, then later retracted that statement. Additionally, Ingraham noted that the people who campaigned for the PLP in the lead-up to the 2012 general election are now doing the same for web shops.
Whether you go to Elizabeth or Yamakro or Mount Moriah or to North Abaco, the same people who worked for the PLP in the last election, the same officers they used as campaign officers are now being used to campaign for the Yes campaign. The same people who were down in my constituency, Fort Charlotte, in the last election, who came to my house this time, asking whether or not we were voting and who we were voting for, yes or no, are the identical people. So it is a PLP thing, cloaked and clouded however they wish.
He says PLP supporters will likely vote in favor of the regulation of numbers houses, while those who support the FNM may decide to back the Bahamas Christian Council. Ingraham, who was asked by reporters to give his views on the referendum last night, also spoke of his administration's proposed legislation on regularizing gaming in the country.
The Ministry of Finance, the officials who are pushing the same information that Mr. Christie knows, they're the ones who prepared this stuff. The FNM government never made any decisions about this. We thought we would do so. We got a flack from the churches, and we said, fine, we'll hold a referendum on the matter after the next election.
In July 2012, the former prime minister stated emphatically that he would not be voting in the gambling referendum because it does not include a question on casino gambling. 6 months later, he says he has not changed his mind.
If the government wanted to ask me a question about gambling, they'd ask me a question on the whole scope of gambling. They wouldn't exclude whether or not I can gamble in the casino. They only want my opinion. It's not binding, as they say. It is only an opinion poll being taken to try to get a feel of how the public feels. And so why they refuse to ask the public that question is beyond my comprehension. And that's the principal reason why I'm not voting.
Free National Movement leader Dr. Hubert Minnis recently urged Bahamians to vote no, insisting that government has not provided enough information on the upcoming poll. Well, as a member of the FNM, Ingram says he supports his leader. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Tude.